Hello everybody, welcome to my kitchen, and I thought what I would set you to do over the next 3 weeks is a bit of salt dough. I used to do quite a lot of salt dough before I discovered clay, and salt dough is really fun to use and really easy because you only need some ingredients that you've probably got in your cupboard anyway. All you need is some plain flour. You need some salt, just normal cheap supermarket brand salt, and some water. That's all you need. And you don't need a kiln. All you need is an oven that you've all got in your kitchen. So it's really easy to use, and it's really fun. So the first thing we need to do is make the salt dough. 250 grams of salt and 8 fluid ounces of water. So I've got 500 grams of plain flour, 250 grams of salt, 8 fluid ounces of water. So all you need to do is pour your salt in the flour, mix it up. And then add your water. Just add it a little bit by bit. Just mix it up. Okay, so as you can see, all my dough, flour and the salt and the water have all combined. I'm just going to knead it a little bit on the worktop here, just so it feels smoother than it did. So, the sleeves up. Okay. So, my fingers. So we've got a nice big bowl of salt dough. So while you're using your salt dough, and you just break a bit off that you might want to start using, you might want to start modelling with. This bit, the best thing to do is to just wrap it in a damp tea towel, because if you just leave it in the bowl like that, it will start to dry out, and we don't want it to dry out. So just wet a tea towel and just cover it while we're using this bit. Okay, so whatever you're making, it's important that you make it on your baking sheet, on your baking tray, and you put some greaseproof paper on top of that baking tray. So don't start making it on your work surface or on a board or on anything else, because if you pick it up before it goes to transfer it onto your baking sheet, it's going to move out of shape. So you actually want to construct it on your baking sheet with your greaseproof paper, but you don't need to put any butter or grease or anything on your greaseproof paper. It should be fine. So we're going to start making our project now. Okay, so we're going to start making our freaky magnets. I'm going to start with the pig. So I've got a little ball, probably just a little bit smaller than an egg. I'm just going to roll that into a little ball, and then I'm just going to flatten it a bit. I've got my oven tray and my greaseproof paper. So just start again with that, and just flatten it with that part of your palm, and just make it into like a body shape. Can you see the thickness? probably about that thick. And I'm just going to place that down. On the baking paper. And then I've got another little bowl which is quite a bit smaller, you see, and that's going to be the head. So it's going to be the head. So again, make sure it's nice and smooth, that you rolled it, and then just flatten it a bit again, just with the palm of your hand, like that. Now I want to join, I'm just going to make that a little bit flatter actually, so just make it a bit bigger. That's sort of going to be the ratio of the body next to the head. Now if you want to join two pieces of the dough together, the best thing to do is just get a paintbrush, just a clean paintbrush and some water, and just wipe the water onto the back of the piece that you're sticking and where you're sticking it to. So I want it to stick to about there. And I'm just gonna hold that there for a second. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. I've got my pig's body and my pig's head there. Just pick that up and it's all right, it's not stuck. Okay, so I'm going to grab some more dough, and I'm going to make the legs. And what you start off with a ball. You see how I make a ball? I roll it between my hands, my palms like that part of my palm, making a ball like that. And then I'm going to turn my ball into a sausage or a coil. It's actually, the proper word is a coil. We're making a coil. Can you see? So I'm moving it through my fingers like that. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do it on the baking paper because it's going to move around. So my little sausage that I've got there, I need to make that a lot thinner. So I'm using this part of my hand, and I am then as it gets longer, I can use both my hands or move. And can you see what I'm doing? I'm moving my hands, and then they're coming apart, and then I'm putting my hands in the middle again, and my hands move away. See, my hands travel to the end, so they start off in the middle and they move right to the end. And I'm not pressing on hard, pressing on very gently. Now I look at my coil and I think, that bit's really thin, that bit's thicker, so I'm not going to roll that bit there because it's actually quite thin already. I'm just going to try and get the rest of it to the same thickness. So that's probably about the right thickness now, just probably that little bit on the end. And the rest of it. You see how much it's grown? Like that. Okay. So I don't want it any thinner than that. It's probably, that bit there is probably a little bit too thin actually, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this up. So I need quite a sharp knife. So please ask your mum and dad if it's, if they're happy for you to use a sharp knife, and they can always supervise you with it. Oh, you can see the head's moved, so I'm just going to move that back. Slowly sliding off there, wasn't it? So the head of my pig kept sliding off. So what I've done, which is something we do with clay, to stop that happening, we do something called scoring. So I'm just doing little lines. This is actually a potter's knife. I don't expect you to have this at home, but you could just use a normal small knife that you have in your cutlery drawer. And can you see I'm scoring in one direction, and then I'm going to score in the other direction. So it's to stop that slippage. So I'm just going to put a little bit more water on, and then just squish it on there. If you move it, it's like the lines that you've made, you kind of, if you think of a zip, the teeth of a zip come together like that, and that's what holds it together. And that's basically what you've just done by scoring on the back of your dough, kind of pushing those kind of teeth together like that. Got my little pig there. So back to this coil. So we're going to make some legs. So I'm going to I'm just going to cut a piece of that, and I'm just going to see how long the legs need to be. So that would be way too long, wouldn't it? Pigs don't have legs that long. But I need to be able to join it effectively. So that would give me plenty of room to join it on the back, actually. So probably about that long would be fine. Perhaps a little bit shorter. Don't want the legs too long. So once I've got one leg and I'm happy with how that looks, and that can go on the back, probably about that long. So I need 4 exactly the same size. So I'm just, can you see I'm lining it up? 2, and then, oh dear, my cat's not very happy. I better go and find her. She gets lost, she can't see, she's blind, bless her. So I better just go and see to her. Okay, I'm back, rescued my cat. Okay, now I'm not going to use that bit because it's a bit too thin. We want the legs, can you see, we want the legs to be the same thickness. So I'm going to move along my coil there, and I'm going to use this bit with my sharp knife. Okay, so kind of put the legs in the order that they're going to go in. And I can just get a little bit of water and just make those ends where I've cut, just make them more rounded. So we don't want like that kind of square feet, like that. Just make that a bit more rounded, like this. I'm just going to flatten them a little bit. Can you see I'm just flattening those legs a little bit? I'm just going to move my pig. Put up maybe a one leg out to the side like that. You should see it's going to put them on like that. Right, so before I stick them on, I'm gonna flatten tops down because this is where the body is going to stick onto the legs. So I'm going to do what I did before. I'm just going to score a little bit, make those little scoring marks with my knife, and then put some water on like that. And I'll just see that one's, just move that one in a bit. You can see I'm kind of measuring it with the body, and I'm just going to push that down like that. Push that down like that. And then we want to make the trotters. So with your sharp knife again, you're going to go in between. Just be really careful with your knife. I'm going to go in between the trotters there. Make it look like a bit more like pig's trotters there. There we are. We've got pig's trotters. Okay, so I'm going to make the pig's nose now. So I'm just going to pinch a little bit off with my little ball of clay. I'm going to roll it in my hand again, and I'm just going to flatten it between my finger and my thumb. Make sure it stays round. And when you flatten things, it kind of squashes things out of shape sometimes. So just put it on and see if it is the right size. I think that's perhaps a little bit too big. It's a tiny bit too big, so I'm just going to nip a bit off it. Roll it again. If it's starting to get a bit dry, just put a little bit of water on it. Flatten it again. Flatten it a bit. Yeah, I think that's about right. For the snout. So again, I'm just going to score the back of the pig's snout there, and here. Put a little bit of water there, and a little bit of water there. And I can just smush it on there. It's a good word, isn't it? Smush. And that's the pig's snout. It's not looking, it will look more like a pig when we put the nostrils on. Okay, so now we've got to make the ears. So now we need to get a little bit more. I nearly said clay then. Get some more dough and just flatten it a little bit. Flatten it. Flatten it with your hands. Like that. And here, there we go. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut a triangle out. Okay, so triangle shape. An equilateral triangle, there you go, even more maths. Maths is in everything, isn't it? I'm going to put some, so our equilateral triangle is where all the sides are the same length. I don't know if it is actually an equilateral triangle, it's sort of. And I'm gonna see if that is about the same, that's about the right size, I think. Okay, so that's about the right size. So I need to cut, so before I stick this one on, I'm just going to flatten that out a little bit more. And then I'm going to put my triangle back on there. And then I'm going to use that one as a template. Template is something you draw around, so it's the right size. So both the ears can be the right size. Okay, just make sure they don't stick together. Like that. I'm just gonna flatten them down a little bit. That one's moved out of shape a little bit. Can you see how easily the dough will move out of shape? And that's why I want you to build it on the baking paper so you don't have to keep picking it up. Okay, so we're just going to pinch one side of the dough of your triangle. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to fold one edge over, so it's like that, so it's kind of doubled over. Can you see? So I've folded one edge over like that, so it's got a bit of a fold in the edge of it. And I'm going to do pinch, you see me pinching it, so it's quite thin at one end, so it's thinner at one end than it is at the other. I'm going to move that over like that, so it's got a little curl in it there, you see. So then what we're going to do is the ear is going to kind of stick on like that. So I actually think that's actually pulled out of shape too much. It's too big at that side, so I'm just going to trim that side off, and I'm just going to trim that side off, but it's still, make sure it's curled over. And you peg, and you're going to attach the ear like that. And attach your pig's ear like that. So again, you're just gonna stick the knife in a few times there, and a few times there where you're going to attach it. And I'm going to attach it there, and I'm going to position it like that so it's sort of hanging down. And then you can just sort of push it and wiggle it a bit and reshape the ear. I'm going to do that with the other one as well. So just look at it, kind of measure it. Where does that? Here you go. Yep. So again, I'm going to push it. with that ear, and attach that ear on. You can just smooth things out a bit as well. If you're getting like lots of lumps and bumps in your dough, you can do that there. Before this, I've got this left over from my coil, so rather than waste that coil, I can just make it a little bit thinner and roll it again. Put a bit of water on it if it's starting to get a bit dry. It does dry out quickly, this dough. I'm going to roll it again. And can you see I'm just going to make a loop like that. Just twist it over the top of itself. Just pinch that little end off and just make it a little bit pointy. And then that can be its curly tail. So again, where you want this bit is going to sit on top of the pig's body. Sort of like that. So this bit and this bit here. So just make some little marks where it's going to go on, and that will just help it stick and stop it from sliding off. A bit of water on it. Oops. Anyway, so that's where the tail's coming from, and that's kind of curling round. I just use, I'm going to get the end of a skewer actually. This is just like a barbecue skewer. And I just make that hole in your tail a little bit more visible. And then what I can do is put the pig's nostrils in. See, it's looking more like a pig now, isn't it? And then an eye, and then another eye. Okay, so there you've got your pig.